It's the wind chill. Boom, 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 boom.
As you can see, that vandal badly damaged the car and spray painted the words, "Mike is a cheater."
The dollar's hegemonic status also underpins America's exceptionalism, as Trump knows it appreciates. Foreign central banks' purchases of U.S. treasuries enabled the U.S. government to run deficits and pay for an oversized military that would bankrupt any other country. And by being the linchpin of international payments, the hegemonic dollar enables the president to exercise the modern-day equivalent of gunboat diplomacy to sanction at will any person or government. This is not enough in Trump's eyes to offset the suffering of American producers who are undercut by foreigners whose central bankers exploit a service, dollar reserves. America provides them for free to keep the dollar overvalued. For Trump, America is undermining itself for the glory of geopolitical power and the opportunity to accumulate other people's profits. These imported riches benefit Wall Street and realtors, but only at the expense of people who elected him twice. Americans in the heartlands who produce the manly goods such as steel and automobiles that a nation needs to remain viable. This is all correct, by the way. This is all correct. That's why I often say the American government is not an American government. It is the government of the international capitalist class. Okay? It doesn't care about Americans. It's why America's a shithole. It's legitimately a shithole. And it used to be in the past that there was this kind of like social liberal deal where America would be the world superpower and Americans would pay the blood price for it. But we would at least have like a high standard of living, right? High standard of living for most of the people in America, but we will have to bear the burden of defending the interests of the capitalist class internationally. Well, they said, the capitalists were like, why should we even do that? Make them slaves like anywhere else. Why the fuck are we paying any taxes? Elon Musk is like, I want to go to Mars. Why the fuck should I make sure you have health care? And how the American government is just this bloated imperial enforcer for the fascist fucking capitalist class, and they love their proxy Nazi state of Israel. And that's not worst of Trump's concerns. His nightmare is that this hegemony will be fleeting. Back in 1988, while promoting The Art of the Deal on Larry King, he bemoaned, "We are a debtor nation. Something's going to happen over the next couple of years in this country because you can't keep on losing $200 billion a year." Since then, he has become increasingly convinced that a terrible tipping point is approaching. As America's output diminishes in relative terms, the global demand for the dollar rises faster than U.S. incomes. The dollar has to appreciate even faster to keep up with the reserve needs of the rest of the world. This can't go on forever. For when U.S. deficits exceed some threshold, foreigners will panic. They will sell their dollar-denominated assets and find some other currency to hoard. Americans will be left amid international chaos with a wrecked manufacturing sector, derelict financial markets, and an insolvent government. This nightmare, and I think this is actually plausible. I think this is plausible because the United States is such an evil country and so offensive and so officious and so hypocritical and so murderous and so wanton that it breeds contempt and hatred and bitterness, right? And so, and the way the United States reacted to the situation in Ukraine has put a lot of other major regional powers on notice. I'm talking about the Europeans, I'm talking about the Russians, I'm talking about the Chinese, I'm talking about the Brazilians and Latin Americans, I'm talking about the South Africans and Africa in general, Saudi Arabia even. And I think a lot of these regional powers are sitting back and going, should we really let ourselves be so vulnerable to people like Donald Trump? And, you know, China's strategy, I think, is a very smart strategy. This is the strategy, at least, that I would pursue if I were China. I would say, we're not going to require you to adopt our system. However, we want you to adopt a system that is neutral and international and fair. You have the alternative of being at the mercy of America's imperialist designs, or you could help us build an international system where everybody is equal and treated fairly. And that is a very attractive deal. However, because China is a communist party-run country, a lot of other countries are full of capitalists at the elite level, and they're going to be scared of that idea. They're going to be like, if we do a fair system, that's going to empower left-wingers in our own country. We don't want to empower we don't want a neutral system. We don't want a fair system. We, the international capitalists of the world, we like that the United States will come around and intervene and squash the leftists in our country. That's what the melees of Argentina want. That's what what is his fucking name? I'm blanking. The Chilean dictator. Pinochet. Okay. I figured it out. The Pinochets of the world, they want America to come in and squash their trade unionists, right? So that's kind of the problem. The capitalist class of the world wants the United States to remain the global hegemon because they can't stop their own leftists. They need the United States. They need the CIA. They need USAID. They need these institutions to squash their own leftists. That's what the Trump administration doesn't understand. And this is what a lot of American progressives or social liberals don't understand, which is USAID is not going around doing good things to help people, you dumb fuck. Okay? They're doing things so they can contain the politics of foreign countries. Like, goddamn, like, what the fuck, are you stupid? So yes, when USAID gets thrown out of countries, is that going to cause disruptions that kill innocent people? Absolutely it will. But it also readjusts these countries' internal politics where the left can actually start to get room to breathe because they're not being fucking surveilled by USAID/CIA. This nightmare scenario has convinced Trump that he's on a mission to save America. And this is not a theory, chat. It's called the Truman Doctrine. This is not like some crazy left-wing theory. It's called the Truman Doctrine. Truman Doctrine says the United States of America can intervene in any country whose politics we don't like. We don't like what you're voting for, we will invade you. That's the Truman Doctrine. Worldwide, America claims the right to invade any country whose politics we do not like. That he has a duty to usher in the new international order, and that's the gist of his plan. In effect, in 2025, a decisive anti-Nixon shock, a global shock that cancels out the work of his predecessor by terminating the Bretton Woods system in 1971, which spearheaded the era of financialization. Central to this new global order will be a cheaper dollar that maintains the world's reserve currency. This would lower U.S. long-term borrowing rates even more. Can Trump have his cake, a hegemonic dollar and low-yielding U.S. treasuries, and eat it, a depreciated dollar? He knows that the markets will never deliver this of their own accord. Only foreign central banks can do this for him. But to agree to do this, they need to be shocked into action first. And that's where his tariffs come in. This is what his critics do not understand. They mistakenly think that he thinks that his tariffs will reduce America's trade deficit on their own. He knows they will not. Their utility comes from their capacity to shock foreign central bankers into reducing domestic interest rates. Consequently, the euro, the yen, the renminbi will soften relative to the dollar. This will cancel out the price hikes of goods imported into the U.S. and leave the prices American consumers pay unaffected. The tariff countries will be in effect paying for Trump's tariffs. The tariffs are only the first phase of his master plan. With high tariffs as a new default, with foreign money accumulating in the Treasury, Trump can abide his time as friends and foes in Europe and Asia clamor to talk. That's when the second phase of Trump's plan kicks in, the grand negotiation. Unlike his predecessors from Carter to Biden, Trump disdains multilateral meetings and crowded negotiations. He is a one-on-one man. His ideal world is a hub and spokes model, like a bicycle wheel, in which none of the individual spokes makes much of a difference to the functioning of the wheel. In his view of the world, Trump feels confident that he can deal with each spoke sequentially, with tariffs on the one hand and the threat of removing America's security shield or deploying it against them on the other. He feels he can get most countries to acquiesce. Acquiescence to what? To appreciating their currency substantially without liquidating their long-term dollar holding. He will not only expect each spoke to cut domestic interest rates, but will demand different things from different interlocutors. From Asian countries that currently hoard the most dollars, he will demand they sell a portion of their short-term dollar assets in exchange for their own, thus appreciating currency. from a relatively dollar-poor Eurozone riddled with internal divisions that increase its negotiating power, Trump may demand three things: that they agree to swap their long-term bonds for ultra-long-term or possibly even perpetual ones, that they allow German manufacturing to migrate to America, and naturally, that they buy a lot more US-made weapons. Can you picture Trump's smirk at the thought of this second phase of his master plan? When a foreign government acquiesces to his demands, he will have chalked up another victory. And when some recalcitrant government holds out, the tariffs stay put, yielding his treasury a steady stream of dollars, which he can dispense any way he deems fit, since Congress controls only tax revenues. Once this second phase of his plan is complete, the world will have been divided into two camps. One camp shielded by the American security at the cost of an appreciated currency. I don't think this is right, by the way. I'm pretty sure that tariffs are just also go to the general fund. I don't think they go into a slush fund for the president. I don't know where Yanis got this. Unless he has some sort of like, unless he's saying that he's going to be like fascist Trump, or he's saying that there's some sort of precedent he's talking about. The government used to be only funded with tariffs. I don't think this is right at all, but okay. Once this second phase of his plan is complete, the world will have divided into two camps. One camp shielded by American security at the cost of appreciated currency, the loss of manufacturing plants, the forced purchases of U.S. exports, including weapons. The other camp will be strategically closer, perhaps to China and Russia, but still connected to the U.S. through reduced trade, which gives the U.S. regular tariff income. Trump's vision of a desirable international economic order may be violently different from mine, but that gives none of us a license to underestimate its solidity and purpose, as most centrists do. Like all well-laid plans, this, of course, may go awry. The depreciation of the dollar may not be sufficient to cancel out the effect of tariffs on U.S. customers' pay, or on the sale of dollars may be too great to keep U.S. long-term debt yields low enough. But besides these manageable risks, the master plan will be tested on two political fronts. The first political threat to his master plan is domestic. If the trade deficit begins to shrink as planned, foreign private money will stop flooding Wall Street. Suddenly, Trump will have to betray either his own tribe of outraged financiers and realtors or the working class that elected him. Meanwhile, a second front will be opening. Regarding all countries as spokes to his hub, Trump may soon discover that he has manufactured dissent abroad. Beijing may throw caution to the wind and turn the BRICS into a new Bretton Woods system, which the yuan plays the anchoring role that the dollar played in the original Bretton Woods. Perhaps this would be the most astonishing legacy and comeuppance of Trump's otherwise impressive master plan. I think that Yanis is right. I think Yanis Varoufakis is right. I think that people, especially centrists and centrist libs or lib lefts, don't really understand what he's trying to do, and they haven't even really thought it through. They're doing what the average American does. The average American doesn't treat their opponent like they have a brain. They treat their opponent like a inscrutable alien that they can never understand, doing things to be evil. Why would China want to play an anchoring role with their yuan? Wouldn't that force their economy to deindustrialize and financialize? No. No, it would not. I think what they will actually do, the Asian sensation, is they would create an international currency made based on a basket of commodities, right? So you could have like a new international settlement currency that isn't the same thing as their domestic currency. There's ideas. There's ideas out there.
As you can see, that vandal badly damaged the car and spray painted the words, "Mike is a cheater," all over the vehicle. Well, the veteran who owns the car told us she has no idea who Mike is.
Mike. I don't